Now see, hello students. Now in this video we are going to start again with the continuation of Gandhian era, that is the advent of Mahatma Gandhi, and in this particular topic we'll read about Gandhiji's fight for the Indians, and it started from South Africa. Clear? Now see, in figure 6, the founders of Natal Congress, Durban, South Africa, 1895, it is shown. Now what is this Natal Congress? It is an organization formed in South Africa. Now why this organization was formed in South Africa? This organization was formed to establish to fight against the racial discrimination, that is the apartheid, which was going on in South Africa. Clear? So in this paragraph, in this topic, we'll read about the South African apartheid, and to remove these racist restrictions in South Africa, he organized several campaigns. Okay? And through these campaigns only he had contact with Hindus, Muslims, Parsis, Christians, and many more communities. Okay? Now we will read, I will explain you the developments in India when he arrived in India year wise. So starting from the year 1915, it was the year when Gandhiji arrived in India. Okay? And he spent his first year in traveling throughout the country. Why he traveled throughout the country? Because he wanted to understand the condition of people. He wanted to understand the needs of the people. Okay? So first year he spent in the understanding of the needs of the people. Then in the next year, that is in the year 1916. In the 1916, he traveled to Champaran, Bihar to inspire the peasant struggle against the indigo planters. Okay? This year he done, you can see on page number 117. The year is given 1919 to 1922. So we will read out all the events which happened before 1919. Starting from 1915, I have told you it was a year when he travelled throughout the country. In the year 1916, he travelled to Champaran, Bihar. Clear? He organized a struggle against the indigo planters. Then in the year 1917, he supported the peasants in Kheda of Gujarat. And why the peasants of Gujarat? Because they were suffering from the crop failure. Clear? And he organized them, and he wanted to urge them to organize a revolt against the Britishers, against the tax. He urged the people not to pay the tax till they are remitted. Then comes the year 1918. In the year 1918, he went to Ahmedabad. And in Ahmedabad, he also organized a Satyagraha movement amongst the cotton mill workers. Clear? Now, the next year, that is year 1919. Now, this year is also important because a series of movements were organized from the year 1919 to year 1922. Clear? So, firstly, the year 1919. Here, event took place which was known as Rowlatt Satyagraha. Now what is Rowlatt Satyagraha? Firstly, we should know about the Rowlatt Act, which was passed in the year 1919. Okay? Now Rowlatt Act, according to this act, the provincial government had powers to arrest a suspected person without a warrant. They could arrest any person they suspect, and they could detain them into prison for 2 years without any trial, that is without any court case. Now it caused again a wave of anger in all sections of the society, because without any trial, any person, now the police has got the power to detain the people without any reason. So Gandhiji asked Indians to observe 6th April 1919 as a day of non-violent opposition to this act. It was also remembered as a Satyagraha Day. It was the first countrywide agitation by Gandhiji, and it marked the foundation of non-cooperation movement. Now, non-cooperation movement is a protest against the British rule, against the Rowlatt Act. ठीक है ना. Now Rowlatt Act Satyagraha was going on in whole country, and in the lieu of the same, in April 1919 there was a mass demonstration, a meeting going on in Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar. ठीक है ना. They were protesting against the arrest of their leader also, Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu and Dr. Satyapal. ठीक है ना. And this was a peaceful meeting going on there in Jallianwala Bagh on Baisakhi Day, 13th April 1919, and they were surrounded by General Dyer, and army unit opened indiscriminate firing upon the 1,000 innocent people. Now, this massacre had a great impact on the Indian politics. The people lost their faith in the British rule due to this massacre. ठीक है ना. Now the people wanted to unite against the Britishers. For what? They want to fight against this colonial rule. In the same aggression, Rabindranath Tagore, he also renounced his knighthood. Now, renouncement of knighthood means he returned his knighthood. Knighthood means an honor granted by the British Crown. It was all against the protest of this incident. Clear? So, during this Rowlatt Satyagraha, Mahatma Gandhi also felt that there is a need to launch a countrywide movement. But he was sure that such a big wide movement could not be organized without the Hindu-Muslim unity. So in 1920, he bring together the Hindus and Muslims on a platform, and he felt that it was a time that Khilafat issue should be taken into consideration to start the countrywide movement. Now this countrywide movement was non-cooperation movement. We are going to read this non-cooperation movement in the year 1920. ठीक है ना. Now this non-cooperation Khilafat movement was organized by Gandhi ji as he saw a chance, a platform to unite the Hindus and Muslims. Now firstly we should know what is Khilafat movement. ठीक है ना. Now you know the First World War, it started in 1914 till 1919. ठीक है ना. And the First World War, it ended with the defeat of the Ottoman Turkey. ठीक है ना. And the rumor was felt that the harsh peace treaty was going to be imposed on Ottoman Emperor. Now who was the Ottoman Emperor? He was the spiritual head, the Khalifa, ठीक है ना, of the Islamic world. After the First World War, the Muslims of the India, they decided to force Britain to change the Turkish policy. A Khilafat committee was formed, and it was formed under the leadership of Maulana Azad, Hakim Ajmal Khan and Hazrat Mohani. Now Muslim leaders, the Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali, they are commonly known as the Ali brothers. ठीक है ना. They began discussing with Mahatma Gandhi about the possibility to unite a mass action again on this issue. Mahatma Gandhi, he saw it as an opportunity of uniting the Hindus and the Muslims. Clear? And then the Congress passed the resolution in Calcutta session in September 1920 to start a satyagraha on Khilafat issue. Now Khilafat non-cooperation movement was against the Khilafat wrong and the Punjab wrong, which we have read in the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So a mass movement now started in which year? In the year 1920. Clear? The Congress has passed the resolution. Now what were the strategies? What were the proposed stages to implement this movement? See, the movement had to begin with the surrender of the titles, the honors, the posts of the people. Clear? They planned to boycott the civil services, the army, British courts, police courts, and the legislative assemblies, schools, colleges and the British courts. Clear? The non-cooperation movement gained momentum in the year 1921 to 1922. Clear? The British goods were all replaced by the domestic goods. That means the imports had to decline. Because of this, to replace the domestic goods was done to decline the imports. The Swadeshi was promoted. In the native cottage industries were promoted. The Swaraj, the demand of Swaraj was promoted. ठीक है ना? So we are going to read about the people's initiatives. That is on page number 117. How the people that initiated in different parts of the country to fight against this British rule. In lieu of the Khilafat Satyagraha, we can say it as a Khilafat non-cooperation movement. Clear? So see, in different parts of the country like in Kheda, Gujarat, Patidar peasants organized non-violent campaigns against the high land revenue demands of the British. Then in coastal Andhra and the interior Tamil Nadu, liquor shops were picketed. What are liquor shops? Liquor shop means the shops where alcohols and other intoxicating drinks are sold. And what is the meaning of picketing? That is to stop, to prevent the people to enter in these shops. In Guntur district also, Andhra Pradesh, there the tribals are in force. The poor peasants, they all started the forest satyagraha. Now what is forest satyagraha? See, a kind of grazing tax was taken from the people, the tribal people. They have to give a kind of tax as they send their cattle to graze in the forest. ठीक है? So they stopped paying this grazing fees. ठीक है ना? And they use the forest resources in various ways, because now they were restricted at that time, but now they started using them forcefully. ठीक है ना? Now why all these things were done? Why they don't want to pay the taxes? Because Gandhiji thought that if the income of Britishers would decline, they will decline in some or the other way, because income is important for development. And if by this thing their income was perishing, by adopting the Swaraj, by adopting the domestic goods, by not paying them the fees. Clear? Now Gandhi Raj was establishing in the country. See, in different parts of country, we have read about the Guntur, Andhra Pradesh, we have read about Gujarat. Now in Sindh, that is in Pakistan at that time, nowadays, Sindh is now in Pakistan. The Muslim traders, the peasants, they supported the Khilafat movement. In Bengal also, the Khilafat non-cooperation movement was going on. It gained the momentum. In Punjab also, the Akali agitation of the Sikh, they removed the corrupt Mahants. Now what is Akali Dal? Akali Dal is a communal group. And what is Mahant? Mahant means the religious functionaries of Sikh Gurdwaras. That means the people who work in the management of Gurdwara. They are known as Mahant. So the corrupt Mahants were removed. Who supported the Britishers, they were removed from the Gurdwara. So this is how different parts of the country was having the reference of Gandhi Raj. And this is more clear from this picture, as you can see on page number 118, beta. See this popular image in which Mahatma Gandhi is like a charioteer. Recall the time of Mahabharat. In Mahabharat, the Krishna was charioteer of Arjun. ठीक है ना? And in this picture, Mahatma Gandhi is shown as a charioteer, and he is driving this chariot as a national leader. The battle against you call it as battle of Mahabharat, but here in the picture the battle of national struggle is shown. And who is the charioteer? Who is the guiding personality? He is Mahatma Gandhi. Clear? Instead of the Krishna who is shown in the picture, Mahatma Gandhi. Is that clear? And some of the bhakti songs also, the Krishna is substituted with Gandhiji. Clear? So this is how the people, he called them as Mahatma. He came to be known as Mahatma. He got the identity of Mahatma. Because people, they believed that Gandhiji would help them like a Masiha to overcome their miseries and poverty. But actual reason is that the people are striving against the struggle. They are helping themselves. by stopping the illegal authorities which are forcing them to pay more taxes. ठीक है ना? So this powerful movement is making the people more and more confident that they will gain independence one or the other day. Clear? So in these paragraphs you have learned about different people who had achievements, the ordinary people who credited their own achievements to Gandhiji for striving them for the struggle. Now in the next video we will learn about the happenings of 1922 to 1929. Clear? Now we will read about the events that happened from 1922 to 1929, in which we will read about the withdrawal of the movement. Which movement? The non-cooperation movement. Now at a time when the non-cooperation movement was in full swing, Gandhiji called it off. The reason was violent incident that took place at Chauri Chaura, Gorakhpur on 5th February 1922. As police fired on a group of people, they turned violent and set fire to a police station, causing the death of 22 English policemen. Now, Gandhiji had wanted the movement to be non-violent, so he called it off on 10th March 1922. Gandhiji was arrested and sentenced to 6 years of imprisonment. Now, after this movement, after the imprisonment of Gandhiji, there was no nationwide movement, no nationwide mass movement for some time. ठीक है ना? So after the suspension of non-cooperation movement, there was a kind of controversy between the Congress leaders. They divided over the question of strategy. What strategy they had to be adopted now. ठीक है ना? So as a result, the Congress got split into two groups, the no changers and the pro changers. See what is written in your book in the second paragraph. Once the non-cooperation movement was over, Gandhiji's followers stressed that. Now here the word Gandhiji's followers is for the no changers. क्लियर? तो अभी हम दो ग्रुप के बारे में पढ़ रहे हैं, द नो चेंजर्स एंड द प्रो चेंजर्स. सो नो चेंजर्स were the followers of Gandhiji, such as Vallabhbhai Patel, Rajendra Prasad, C. Rajagopalachari, who wanted to continue with the constructive program in the rural areas. That means the programs already were started in the village areas. So they wanted to continue the same programs. And pro-changers, they were the group of leaders such as Chittaranjan Das and Motilal Nehru, etc., who argued that Congress party should fight elections to win the seats in central and provincial legislatures. Now, why they wanted to fight the elections? Because in order to influence the government policies. ठीक है ना? But they formed Swaraj Party also, and however with the death of Chittaranjan Das in 1925, the Swaraj Party was weakened. Some other parties were also found like see in your book in the third paragraph, the RSS, that is Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh, and which is a Hindu organization, and the Communist Party of India. Now what was the motive of these organizations? These organizations played an active role in raising demands and mobilizing people on these demands and to participate in the freedom struggle. They wanted to mobilize the people. Clear? Now, as you know, the non-cooperation movement was suspended, and some people were having a kind of frustration among them. So they led to the revolutionary activities. Now we'll read about some revolutionary organizations and their works. As you can see on page number 152. Now there were some radical revolutionary organizations which adopted some protest methods, some radical protest methods, like to murder and to establish the factories to produce bombs. So these revolutionaries, they founded firstly a Hindustan Socialist Republican Association, which was founded in Firoz Shah Kotla in Delhi. Now, the main aim of this organization was armed resistance against the foreign rule. Armed resistance means to use the arms, to use the weapons, to murder them. Clear? For these things, the party they need fund. So they have to do something for collecting the fund. So they started looting the government treasury. In the same, they looted the train to Lucknow at Kakori, which was carrying the government treasury. This incident was known as Kakori conspiracy case. In December 1928, a police officer named Saunders was also assassinated. He was killed. And why he was killed? Because it was believed that he was responsible for the death of Lala Lajpat Rai, who was leading a procession against the Simon Commission. We will read about the Simon Commission also. I will explain you about the Simon Commission also. Firstly, I'll explain you all the activities of these revolutionaries. Now, next, on 8th April 1929, Bhagat Singh and Batukeshwar Dutt threw a bomb in the Central Legislative Assembly, and they also raised a slogan, "Inqilab Zindabad." They did not want to injure anyone, but they want to make a statement. The statement is written here, na? It takes a loud voice to make the deaf hear. Now, what is the meaning of this statement? They want to tell that they will not bear the colonial rule of Britishers, and for that, the Britishers has to be given a loud blow with the help of this bomb. They don't want to kill anyone. For the same, Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, Rajguru, and Rajguru, Sukhdev, Bhagat Singh, they were tried and they were later on they were hanged. Clear to everyone? The revolutionary activities. Now next I will make you clear the Simon Commission. Now see children, the government, British government, he appointed the Simon Commission, a group of 7 British members led by Sir John Simon, to investigate the need for the further constitutional reforms, that what should be done in the government, what changes should be done in the government, so that so that these Indians could be suppressed. Okay? So but it had no Indian member in it, but it was made to see the constitutional reforms, and there was no Indian member here. So it was regretted. It was enraged by the people. All the people, they were enraged for the formation of the Simon Commission. The Congress decided to boycott the commission at every stage and at every form. When the commission arrived in India, there was a nationwide strike. As you can see in the picture also, see on page number 152. As you can see here also in the video. Now, protests were held all over the country. The protesters greeted it with black flags and slogans of "Simon, go back." These slogans were raised. In the same protest in Punjab, police lathi charged on anti-Simon Commission procession, which was led by Lala Lajpat Rai, in which he died. Clear? I think this all is clear to you. Now we will study the next mass movement, which was known as the civil disobedience movement. Clear? The march to Dandi. Now British had imposed a tax on salt, a commodity consumed by rich and poor alike, because salt was very important. And government also had a monopoly over the production of salt. So on 12th of March 1930, Mahatma Gandhi, along with 78 volunteers, began his famous Dandi March, which was also known as Salt March. From the Sabarmati Ashram to the coastal town of Dandi, Gandhiji and his followers covered on foot a distance of 375 kilometers in 24 days. Clear? It is written in your book 240 miles. It can be 375 kilometers in a time stretch of 24 days. Now he reached Dandi on April 6th and violated the salt by making the salt. How he violated, as you can see in the picture also, Gandhiji picking up the salt. So by firstly he made the salt, and by picking up in his hands he break the salt law. Clear? This was the beginning of civil disobedience movement. Soon it became a mass movement. Thousands of people, they followed this they followed this Dandi march. They followed the disobedience movement against it. They, what they did, they burned the foreign clothes, they boycotted the foreign clothes, liquor shops were picketed, peasants refused to pay revenue tax, and even they many of them, they did not follow the rules and regulations made by the Britishers. ठीक है ना? The famous poetess Sarojini Naidu, as you can see, led a march of satyagrahis to government on salt depots. That means she, along with her followers, she went to various salt shops, and this she started a satyagraha movement there. Clear? As you see this paragraph, women in the freedom struggle. We'll read about the civil disobedience movement, also known as Dandi March, also known as Salt March. Now the British had imposed a tax on salt, a commodity which is consumed by rich and poor. The government also had a monopoly over the salt production. That means the sole right to produce the salt. They had monopoly also, and they introduced a tax also. Okay. So on March 1930, Mahatma Gandhi, along with 78 volunteers, began his famous Dandi March from Sabarmati Ashram to the coastal town of Dandi. Gandhiji and his followers covered on foot a distance of 375 km in 24 days. See in your book, in the second paragraph, second line, it is written 240 miles from Sabarmati to the coastal town of Dandi. One and the same thing. Clear? So he reached Dandi on April 6 and violated the law by making salt. See, the picture is given. In this pic, Gandhiji is taking salt in his hand. That means he is making the salt. He made the salt first, and he then broke the salt law by taking it in his hands. Clear? Now this was the beginning of civil disobedience movement. Soon it became a mass movement. Clear? Now we'll read about the British government, how the people they reacted, what was the reaction of British government. Now thousands of people, they boycotted the foreign clothes, liquor shops were picketed. Clear? And it became a mass movement. Several women revolutionaries also, they took part in this movement, like Sarojini Naidu, as you can see in the figure 13, Sarojini Naidu with Mahatma Gandhi. And in this movement, the government also took many repressive measures to crush this movement. Satyagrahis, all the satyagrahis, they were imprisoned in large number. Congress was declared as illegal, and major Congress leaders were put behind the bars. Now this was a very volatile situation. ठीक है ना? Now Gandhiji, he wanted to negotiate. The Britishers, they decided to negotiate with Gandhiji. So in 1935, the British Parliament, it passed the Government of India Act, which was also known as the Government of India Act 1935. Now its major feature was that this act proposed the autonomy to the provinces. Major provinces were created, like the Orissa and Sindh provinces were created. This act also suggested the creation of an all India federation of British Indian provinces and Indian states. That means autonomy has to be given to the Indian states. ठीक है ना? But the act was a failure, because the provincial autonomy had serious limitations. It could not satisfy the demands of the Indians. That is why this act was a failure. So in this way, the federal act was not being able to introduce. Strong opposition was there. the Congress rejected this act. Then in March 1942, Sir Stafford Cripps came to India to seek the support of Indian leaders in the Second World War, because the Second World War started. ठीक है ना? Now this Cripps, when he came to India, then he came with certain features, and these were known as the Cripps mission. Now, what were the features? This mission proposed that dominion status for India after the World War. That means India would be given its dominion status. It would be given back its freedom. ठीक है ना? But on certain limitations. So due to the limitations, the proposals were rejected by Congress and the Muslim League. This mission also failed. Now, Gandhiji, after the failure of this Cripps mission, the Congress and Gandhiji decided to launch the third mass movement against the Britishers. In August 1942, Gandhiji gave the slogan, "Quit India." The All India Congress Committee met on 8th of August 1942 at Mumbai and passed the Quit India resolution, which proposed the starting of a non-violent mass struggle under Gandhiji. Now, this resolution demanded the immediate end of the British rule in India, because the World War, it also ended, and Gandhiji and other Congress leaders, they wanted to end the British rule, and that is why they also gave a mantra, that is, do or die. The repression, now how the Britishers could remain quiet, so they also started a repressive movement against the Indian leaders. On 9th August 1942, Gandhiji and Congress leaders were arrested. Congress was again declared illegal. The people reacted violently. They attacked the symbols of British authority, जैसे police stations, police offices, then post offices, railway station, telegraph, telephone wires, all these were cut, buildings were burned. Now, government also went out to crush this movement. Thousands of people were imprisoned. They were killed. Processions were lathi charged. Most of the leaders of Congress were imprisoned. In the end, the government succeeded in crushing this movement. So, the Quit India movement was the last major mass movement in the history of Indian freedom. And it also witnessed large number of Indian women participants also. ठीक है ना? Various women participated in this independence movement. ठीक है? They helped the Congress leaders, they helped the revolutionary leaders to fight against the Britishers. Now, in this thing, Quit India movement, we must take into consideration an important and most dynamic leader of the Indian freedom struggle, that is Subhash Chandra Bose. Now, let us read about Subhash Chandra Bose. A small block is given in your book, Bose and the INA. Now, he was one of the most dynamic leader of Indian freedom struggle. He joined the Indian National Congress in 1921 at a very early age, but Bose was actively participating in the young wing of the Congress. But the Gandhiji's policy of non-violence does not match with the ideologies of Subhash Chandra Bose. They always have differences between them. So in 1938, he quit the Congress and he formed his own party named All India Forward Bloc. Clear? In 1942, the first Indian National Army was formed under Captain Mohan Singh with the Indian prisoners of war. Now, this INA, the Indian National Army, which was formed, it was with the arrival of Subhash Chandra Bose in 1943. This organization was totally controlled by him, Subhash Chandra Bose, because earlier it was started by Mohan Singh, but with the arrival of the Indian National Army, as you know, was formed by Captain Mohan Singh. But in July 1943, at a meeting in Singapore, Ras Bihari Bose handed over its this organization, control of the INA, to Subhash Chandra Bose. It also had women regiment under the command of Captain Lakshmi Swaminathan. This women regiment was known as Rani Jhansi Regiment. Now, this INA was aided by the Japanese air cover. Subhash Chandra Bose led INA attack on British Indian territories across Indo-Burmese border. Then in May 1944, the army conquered Imphal and Kohima. These were the important contributions of Indian National Army in the Indian freedom struggle. Clear? Now we again come to the uh, conferences of the prominent leaders, that is in year 1946. Now we are coming to the end of the Indian freedom struggle. Now in the year 1946, a conference of prominent leaders of major political parties of India was held in at Shimla, but it was a failure because Jinnah, who belonged to the Muslim League, was rigid on the question of Pakistan. In March 1946, Prime Minister of England Clement Attlee sent a cabinet mission to India to hold talks with the Indian leaders and settle the terms of transfer of power. Now, this mission consisted of three cabinet ministers: Lord Pethick, Lawrence, Sir Stafford Cripps, and A.V. Alexander. Now, it had all talks with the Indian leaders and then put it forward for own proposals. This was known as Cabinet Mission Plan. Now, this plan also proposed formation of an interim government at the center to carry on the administration until the constitution was implemented. That means the Congress has to form an interim government. Interim government means an internal government. Clear? And Congress readily accepted this plan to form the interim government. But you know, the Congress was having differences with Muslim League on many issues. So on the communal riots took place in whole of the country. In September 1946, an interim government was formed with Jawaharlal Nehru as the vice president. The Muslim League also joined it for some time, but the league continued with its demands for separate state of Pakistan. It had a theory for it which was known as two nation theory. This theory was given by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. That means India is not one country. It is a country having two nations. One for the Hindus, that is India, and one for Muslims, that is Pakistan. This was the two nation theory. Now, a Constituent Assembly was elected in July 1946, in which Congress won. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as the President of Assembly, and it started functioning on 9th of December 1946. From here, the Constituent Assembly started its work. For what? For the formation of Constitution. Clear? So on next on 24th of March 1947, Lord Mountbatten was appointed as the Viceroy of India, and he arrived in India in 1947 and presented a plan for the division of India into two independent states. One is India and one is Pakistan. ठीक है ना. And Pakistan will consist of West Punjab, East Bengal today, which is Bangladesh, Sindh, and many more areas, the newly formed princely states. ठीक है ना. And in lieu of the same, communal right, a continuous pressure on the Muslim League for Pakistan made the partition of India. And finally, India became an independent country on 15th of August 1947. ठीक है ना. Now here the Constituent Assembly started working as a national parliament. The members took a pledge to devote themselves for the service of India and her progress. The Indian tricolor was hoisted on the historic Red Fort, and a new chapter began in the history of India. I think this is clear to you. and this is how we gained the independence of our country. With the explanation of this topic, we have completed this chapter. I think all the topics are clear to you.